to Tea at Taxevity, where you meet special people, our clients and friends. I'm your host, Pramod Sharma. Our guest is David Peck, the president and founder of So Change. We met through the Global Change Initiative where we were both speakers. David was also interviewed by the Avenue Q Puppets. Let's raise our cups of tea and greet David. Thanks for joining us, David.
You're welcome, Pramod.
What we do in this series is we ask some simple questions about what you do so that people can get a better sense of who you are and the things that you're involved in. The first question is, how do you earn money?
Yeah, that's a good one. You might want to ask my wife, Elizabeth, that question, actually. She probably could give you a fairer, more equitable answer. I earn money right now through a variety of ways. So right this moment, I'm kind of a free agent. So I would take independent contracts. I might earn money through some of the events that we manage at So Change. I'm looking into doing a $5,000 contract or thereabouts in Cambodia in the near future. So these things all kind of add up. So over the years, since I left my full-time gig, if you will, in italics, I have hobbled together an income in a variety of ways. But I've also had some 18-month contracts that were full-time that I had approached them as a So Change kind of a gig, but it actually turned into this, the way, oh yeah, I'll hire you part-time, and then your part-time job turns into a full-time initiative anyway. So, and this is often the case. So yeah, variety of ways, but I've managed. I've had to be a little creative / entrepreneurial at times, but we've been able to make ends meet. So
Okay, that's terrific. And how did you get started in your field? And I'm thinking here of when you left the corporate world.
yeah, so it's. The more I guess live, the more I think Kierkegaard, the Danish philosopher, the Great Dane, was right in the sense that he said that you live your life moving forward, but you understand it when you look back. So you see the connections, you see the thread, the dots connect. It starts to make a bit more sense, and I'll be able to answer that question better in 10 more years. If that makes sense. But I think part of what it had to do for me was with the way I was brought up. The home that I grew up in, the people that I was able to meet, and so the stories that I was told. And so I met some really weird and interesting and wonderful people along the way as a result of the friendships that my parents had. Two of the most hospitable people I've ever known. We had so many people come through our home. And so I was privy to these stories and worlds and demographics, really, I suppose you could say, or geographies, these human geographies that were just fascinating. And so I think that's had a huge impact in propelling me into the field of international development. And then in '89, I was invited. I was on strike. I'm an electrician, and I was on strike at the time. I was a third term apprentice, I guess. Yeah, third term. And I was invited to go to Africa to help build a medical clinic. I was on strike for about 3 months. I raised some money and kind of like free the children in a way today. And I packed my bags and went with a small team, and we helped to build 2 medical clinics. And I stood on the edge of the Great Rift Valley, and I went to Lake Baringo and nearly had my hands nibbled off by a hippopotamus, and just incredible experience that really branded something into my soul in a way that I think changed everything for me. So you kind of say, well, and then the rest is history. Well, in truth, it really is kind of history. And then So Change was a development that came out of some postgraduate work that I was doing back in 2005.
It's terrific that you were able to experience something that was able to change your life. Now, the type of work that you're doing, why does that matter to society?
Do you mean like the idea of planting seeds of change, or actually doing development work?
I was thinking more of the development work.
Well, I guess it depends what you mean by society. So if you mean globally, I think it's all about your starting points. What are your presuppositions? I'm a philosopher academically, so I'm all about getting to the bottom of things and hopefully getting a little more precision and precise about where we begin. So what's your starting point? Well, my starting point, I think, or one of my many starting points, is that we're all in this together. This big, glorious, beautiful, crazy world mess like thing that we find ourselves in, right? The story, as a friend of mine would say, the story that we find ourselves in. And we're in it together, and we're sort of, whether we like it or not, we kind of are holding hands. And so can't we make a really good go of it, at the risk of sounding really trite and oversimplifying it? So for me, I think it has to do with this idea of change also. I really am a hopeful cynic. That's how I've described myself many times. So I love the paradox. I'm very hopeful about the future, and yet deeply realistic about how difficult these things are. So for me, it's about sharing. It's about finding ways of treating others like they matter, even more than myself from time to time, if that makes sense, at the risk of sounding pretty presumptuous, I think, from a altruistic point of view. But I wish more of us kind of had this idea that we there's this big circle around us all, right? 5 billion religious people in the world, and we can't get on the same page. Instead, we kill each other. Well, what's up with that? Okay, so it's historical and it's problematic, and 3,500 years of civilized history, written civilized history, about 230 years of peace. Well, what the hell is going on? What is going on, right? And so I want to get to the bottom of that. And so if there's this circle that's been drawn around us, and we're all included in that, how does that make a difference to the way I live my life today? And so I'm trying to raise my kids in that way, and the conversations I have with others, and so on. So you know what, Pramod? I have no idea if I've answered your question, but I hope I've said something meaningful there along the way.
Well, what you said was fascinating. I'm always interested in understanding when people work. I mean, of course, we need money.
Yes.
But what are they doing that's beyond that? Are they doing things to help the world? And I find that people don't always realize that what they're doing does make a difference in the world in general.
Well, I so totally agree with you. So one of my, one of my other assumptions is that we're all already making a difference of one kind or another. So the question I have for you now is, what kind of difference? For good or for ill? Are you adding to the equation, or are you taking away from it? That comes down to our relationships, the way we parent, the way we belong to community organizations. Are we Cub Scout leaders? Are we, how involved are we really? And so, if we all agree that we're making a difference of one kind or another, it seems to me, and if we're kind of affirmed in a little way, if we're encouraged, which I know is kind of the antithesis of what goes on in our day-to-day lives, maybe, just maybe, we'll turn up the heat a little bit and say, I can take it to the next level. I can get to the next rung on the ladder, and maybe help a few more people along the way, or make this world a better place. And so I don't start from this idea that it's all about me, that it's all self-interest, or what did Friedman say in The Social Responsibility of Business is to increase profits. Well, I think he's wrong. I think he was wrong. I think he is wrong. I think that has really had a problematic effect on the way we approach others, right? So now I don't really care about you at all, because you don't have any value to bring to me. What's the ROI on our relationship here, Pramod? Right?
Yeah.
It's a horrible way to live, I think.
Yeah, it's great that you're looking at things in that broader sense. Now, when a client is hiring you, they often feel that they have other choices. What is it that leads them to pick you over other options? What have you heard them tell you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Good question, and a difficult one to answer without sounding egomaniacal in the process. But I think it's that I hope that So Change has this very relational approach. I've said to potential clients, I've said to companies, I've said to others that, you're already doing a lot of good things. Let us help, let us come in there and just help you humanize it just a little bit more. Let's bring a little bit of focus. Let's draw from some of the relationships. A friend of mine years ago talked about this switchboard model that I was developing, right? So Change was the switchboard. We had this access to all these experts and this knowledge, this tacit knowledge that we were bringing together. inside the circle, again, by the way, promote, that we could bring to bear on a particular company or a nonprofit or an individual. So I think it's the connections, I think it's the relational approach, and I think it's what I would like to think is our comprehensive understanding of the issues.
Okay. When you aren't working, what sort of hobbies or other activities are you involved with?
Well, my family's really important to me. Learning what interests my kids. I'm not really a sports guy, but my son loves hockey. So right now, I'm currently involved in the Stanley Cup. Not the way I would normally spend my time, but I'm there because of him, and I'm looking for those opportunities all the time. But I love to read. I love film. Love documentary film. I love also great, just fun, interesting, fun movies. So in another life, I would have been a film director, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, I think. And so, but I have a lot, my biggest problem, my biggest liability is I don't find any subject uninteresting.
Wow.
I mean,
that's a great skill.
It's great, but it's also incredibly exhausting. Because, you could sit here and start telling me about, I don't know, the study of earthworms that you've been doing for the last 22 years.
How did you know?
And yeah, exactly. And I bet you I would drive away here going, holy cow, that's fascinating. I gotta learn a little bit more about earthworms.
And here I was thinking I bored everyone, but I found
right.
someone who is
I don't know where
interested
earthworms came from, but there you go. But it's true, and I love that sense of curiosity and that sense of wonder. But it can be a little debilitating from time to time.
Okay, and our final question is, how can people reach you?
So pretty out there on the internet. I have a website, davidpecklive.com, which is kind of pushing some of the work that I do independently. The newsletter I'm currently writing, curating news for Newsana Plus, my podcast Face to Face, and my blog, which I'm writing more about. Writing more specifically, I'm also now writing for Taking It Global as well, which is kind of a really interesting site that people should look into. But yeah, davidpecklive.com, and then my company So Change. You can get there, sochange.ca, and that's how it sounds, So Change. So those are a couple ways you can access me. Search David Peck, and hopefully I'll be one of the first few hits. That's what I'm trying to get to anyway.
Yes, and we'll put links
great.
so people will be able to click to you more easily.
Yes.
Well,
great.
Thank you very much for
thank you. It's
visiting us.
It's always fun to talk about yourself.
Thanks for joining us for Tea at Taxevity. The Taxevity Insurance Advisory helps you understand insurance and bridges gaps in your coverage. There's no premium for peace of mind. How healthy is your insurance?